Hey everyone, so this update is on the White Knight, my 1991 Chrysler 5th Avenue. About a month ago, the digital gauge cluster burned out, and after a lot of trials and tribulations, I finally managed to get it functioning again. Went through a lot to get this thing going. So I'll cut right to the chase. This instrument cluster is actually out of a 1989 Chrysler New Yorker Landau that I found in a junkyard. Now, I've always read that you cannot mix and match the gauge clusters from the various years because they're not compatible. I've read that the computer bus is changed every year and you just couldn't interchange the clusters. Well, I have found that that is actually not the case. The only thing that this cluster does not have is the airbag light. So you'll see I'll turn it on, and it has all of the various gauges and everything light up just fine. Everything lights up, all the various gauges work beautifully, and everything is working good. I had initially tried pulling the cluster out of a 92 Chrysler Imperial, and that did not function properly. It had oil, it had fuel, it had coolant temperature, but it did not show voltage. The speedometer did not work, and the check engine light did not work. I had tried a number of things to try to get it to fully function, including replacing all of the various computer modules, the ECM, the TCM, the BCM. Replacing the ECM and the BCM resulted in all of the gauges working, but it caused some other issues, including a perpetual check engine light with various codes that weren't really there. And when the TCM was installed, it did not work at all. With the, the transmission didn't work at all. It was just stuck in limp home mode. So I believe that is because that TCM came out of a 93. The ECM was out of a 93 Caravan, as was that TCM. The BCM was out of a 92 Imperial, as was the gauge cluster. So for a while I drove it around with the ECM and the BCM from a 92 Imperial and a 93 Caravan. And all the gauges worked, but you had that constant check engine light, and the transmission shifted very erratically and strangely. So I went back to the other engine computer from the stock one, the 91 Fifth Avenue. When I did that, though, I inadvertently damaged the positive battery cable. And when I did that, I put it back together again, but it kept blowing the blower motor fuse, which also controls the power to the climate control in general and also the electric windows. So I had to get a new battery terminal. Finally got that installed, and while I was at the junkyard looking for a different battery terminal, I came across this gauge cluster from that 89 Landau, New Yorker Landau. And I decided, you know what the hell, I'll go ahead and throw it in there and just see what it does. And lo and behold, it works perfectly. So the moral of the story is, at the end of the day, the 89, 90, and 91 gauge clusters all seem to be interchangeable. The only difference with the 89 is that it does not have an airbag light. For me, I don't consider that to be a really big issue. Frankly, if I decide I really need it, which I don't think I'm going to, I can always reroute the pin to the anti-lock light, because this car doesn't have anti-lock brakes. But if you ever need a gauge cluster for a 1989, 1990, or 1991 Chrysler New Yorker, or Chrysler New Yorker 5th Avenue, or Chrysler Imperial for that matter, bear in mind that 89, 90, and 91 clusters are interchangeable. 92 and 93 clusters are interchangeable. The 88 cluster is the only one that will only work in an 88, although you can wire it up to any of the other yours if they have an analog cluster installed. You just need the pigtails and need to match up the wires when you splice it in. Well, anyway, thanks for your time. Appreciate you watching this video. Look forward to seeing you all in the future. Take care. Bye.